This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
What's up guys, this is VinylicPuma and I'm back once again with another Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel countdown video. Today we're going to be going over Vladof weapons. Vladof weapons are all automatic weapons that are characterized by their high fire rate. Vladof is home to a wide variety of weapons that are inspired by both Russian and Soviet naming conventions and style. After all, Vladof assault rifles have a magazine that's similar to the AK line of assault rifles. So we're talking like the AK-47. Without further ado, these will be the top 9 best Vladof guns and weapons in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Number 9, the Rapier. So it's going to sound weird when I say this, but the Rapier is actually a pretty terrible gun. However, the Rapier is the best melee weapon available to the player in Borderlands 2, as it provides the highest melee damage bonus of any weapon. Most weapons typically have 50% melee damage bonus, while the Rapier clocks in at around 200% damage bonus. Since the Rapier is a cursed unique weapon from the Captain Scarlet DLC, it does have some drawbacks. While you have this weapon equipped in hand, you will take additional melee damage from enemies. This means you will need to be able to tank some hits, or you'll need to kill enemies before they can even reach you. If you're Zero, however, you could always go invisible as well. If you play melee in Borderlands 2, I highly recommend the Rapier. Number 8, the Mongol. So the Mongol is actually a pretty cool rocket launcher that is sort of mediocre in Borderlands 2, however it is quite nice in Borderlands the pre-sequel. What the Mongol does is when you fire it, it fires a rocket that spawns dozens of tiny rockets that spread out and hit enemies. It's sort of hard to explain, but as you can see from the gameplay, I think that you'll get the idea. The Mongol is sort of weird though. Unlike most Vladof rocket launchers, it isn't quite as ammo efficient. That said, if you have skills that give your shots a chance not to consume ammo, I'm pretty sure that you're not really going to notice. Now, the Mongol does come in all elements and is recommended for use in Borderlands the pre-sequel, although it's sort of okay in Borderlands 2 as well. Number 7, the Kitten. So the Kitten is actually pretty awesome. Maybe it should be higher up on this list, but I chose to put it here. The Kitten is a Moxie assault rifle that heals the player for a percentage of the damage dealt, and is one of the few multiple projectile per shot assault rifles that's available to the player in Borderlands 2. The Kitten pretty much massacres most enemies with and without guns. However, it does have a bit of a problem up against some armored enemies, especially some of the guys that carry the big shields in bandit camps or places like Bloodshot Stronghold. Since the Kitten doesn't deal splash damage, these armored nomads can deflect your shots or just block your shots entirely. Regardless, the Kitten is a great weapon on almost all characters. Number 6, the Infinity. Okay guys, so you probably know about this gun already, so I'll keep it short. The Infinity is a Vladof pistol that has a magazine size of 1, however it never runs out of ammo. It also has a firing pattern that is in the shape of an infinity symbol, which also helps out its accuracy somewhat while hip firing. However, this can frustrate the player while trying to aim down sights. This is a popular weapon among Zero players, as the Infinity goes well with Zero's one-shot, one-kill skill. Every shot with the Infinity is technically the first shot from the magazine, so the bonus applies to every shot. Overall, pick up an Infinity, even if it's just for the novelty. Number 5, the Hail. So the Hail is personally one of my favorite guns or weapons from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. While it's going to be difficult to use on both the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, the PC and Xbox One and PS4 versions can take advantage of an FOV slider, which makes it a little bit easier to properly aim your shots while aiming down to try to get the arc to hit enemies. Now, like all other Moxie weapons, the Hail heals the player for a percentage of damage dealt. And unlike the Kitten, the Hail has a very impressive critical hit modifier. It deals splash damage, making it effective up against virtually all enemies. And after a certain distance, the initial projectile splits into 2. Like other weapons with unlisted projectiles, this gets the full damage bonus from the bee. Overall, I recommend the Hail if you don't have one. It is a great assault rifle. Number 4, the Lead Storm. So the Lead Storm is essentially a better version of the Hail, however it doesn't heal the player for a portion of damage dealt, and doesn't deal splash damage to enemies. Now, like the Hail, the projectiles of the Lead Storm split after a certain distance, however instead of splitting into just 2 like the Hail does, the Lead Storm's initial projectile can split into 3, meaning you can have 3 fully amped shots with the bee shield for the cost of just 1 bullet. And like many other Vladof assault rifles, the Lead Storm has a pretty big magazine size. My issue with the Lead Storm is the lack of splash damage, as well as the fact that the Lead Storm has a Vladof minigun assault rifle barrel. I tend to find these unwieldy, as the windup tends to take a lot longer than I would like. Most other weapons don't have to wind up in order to reach their maximum damage potential. Regardless, the Lead Storm is a great weapon. Number 3, the Long Nail. Now, in one of our previous episodes, I talked about the Jacobs Trespasser sniper rifle and how it could bypass shields. The Long Nail is essentially a drastically improved version of the Trespasser sniper rifle from Borderlands 2 that is exclusive to Borderlands the pre-sequel. Unlike the Trespasser, the Long Nail is capable of impressive DPS, and provided you have a cryo version, you can freeze enemies while their shield is still up and deal damage directly to their health bar. This is extremely powerful up against many of the Iridian enemies in Borderlands the pre-sequel that have high shields, yet relatively low health. Otherwise, there's not really much else to say. This is one of the best sniper rifles in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Number 2, the Machine. The Machine combines what is essentially one of the best types of sniper rifles from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel with one of the most powerful special effects introduced in Borderlands the pre-sequel. You'll find this on most Maliwan-type beam lasers, but it's called Continuous Damage Bonus. As you're dealing damage to an enemy, each successive hit will deal more damage until it caps out at the maximum percentage number. So for example, if you're firing a gun that has 100% continuous damage bonus, you'll get double damage provided that you stay on target and keep firing. The only drawback is that there is a wind-up time sort of similar to like a Vladof minigun barrel on assault rifles. However, I do think in this case that it's worth it, especially if you can significantly boost your damage while winding up the fire rate of the Machine. And finally, number 1, the White Death / Luda. So this is one of Borderlands 2's best sniper rifles. Its only real competitor is the Maliwan Pimpernel from the Captain Scarlet DLC. The White Death / Luda, on the other hand, is a vanilla game weapon, so everybody should have this available to them. So really, there's not much difference between the Luda and Vladof non-unique Droog sniper rifle in terms of how the gun fires and functions. The White Death has projectiles that split into 3 after a certain distance, and also has a superior critical hit modifier. If a player is skilled enough, you can gauge your distance just right to where you can fire projectiles that split just as they hit targets for up to triple damage. Overall, this is a great weapon and might just be the best of the Droog variants from both Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Anyway guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care and I'll see y'all next time.